Hello, my name is Margit Franz, and I have the pleasure to be here at the National Gandhi Museum, Delhi in Rajghat, and present you the exhibition Savitri, Gandhi's Austrian Disciple. Savitri is the name Mahatma Gandhi has chosen for the Austrian Franziska Standenat. She lived in Austria all her life, but she became a very devoted disciple of Gandhi during her lifetime. And the exhibition is going to tell you the story of her lifetime and how she became from afar a disciple, how the moments of her stay in the ashram changed her life, and after returning from her stay in India and with the Mahatma, how she devoted her life for his teachings and his thoughts to be spread all over the German-speaking countries. Here you can see a short description of our exhibition, and the exhibition is done in a chronological way. So here at the beginning you see some documents showing her in the town Graz, where she stayed most of her life. She was born in today's Czech Republic, had a very unlucky and unhappy childhood and a very unlucky first marriage, which she could elude with the dowry of her mother. She went to Vienna, where she met her second husband, Fred Standenat, who was a medical doctor and a doctor of philosophy, and they were living in a very dear relationship, but the relationship was platonic from the very beginning. So we see here, this is a postcard from the University of Graz, where she tried to study, or she studied Oriental languages and Oriental philosophy. The other postcard shows you also the way down to her apartment, and it shows them in their apartment. So she was very much assisting her husband in his endeavors and his medical studies, but they both were not happy with the Western medical science, and they were looking for a new way, a new approach after the war had brought a lot of violence and a lot of deaf people to Europe. So here is, on the second wall, you see a very nice, beautiful portrait of her again, with a proof of residence for them and birth certificate. And this is the first letter she's writing to Gandhi, expressing her concerns and how she feels about being in Austria, being alone with her philosophical approaches, with her love for animals, with her love for non-violent and social activities, and her misbelief and her critiques on the Western science. So where did they find Gandhian thoughts in German-speaking country at that time? We have to say the Standenats did not speak English at that time. They spoke German and they spoke French. So, but there was an initiative in Switzerland by a Swiss publishing house. It's called Rotapfel Verlag Zurich, and they were the first ones to publish Romain Rolland's Gandhi's biography. Here we see Romain Rolland, and this is the very famous book, and the Rotapfel Verlag in Zurich was able to publish it the first time in German. And the editor of the Rotapfel Verlag, Emil Ronninger, together with Romain Rolland and his sister, they had this initiative of starting a European Asian World Library, and Gandhi devoted all and gave all his rights. Every book by him was allowed to be translated to German and to English and in other languages, just by Rotapfel Verlag for Europe, which was a great habit, and it was also making this World Library project more prominent. So you can see in between 1923 and 25 there were several books by Rotapfel Verlag, Mahatma Gandhi, Romain Rolland, Gandhi in South Africa by Toke, Ein Wegweiser zur Gesundheit, it's a guide to health, was by them, and Young India, so some essays from between the years 1919 and 1922 were selected and were also published. So this was actually the library, the German library for the Standards to learn about Gandhi. And this just made them more secure that they are on the right way, the right track, to have found somebody they could follow, who could be their mentor, who could be their philosophical guide and their social guide. So what they did after indulging in all this literature and initiatives, they started finally in 1924 to learn English, to read Gandhi's writing in English. So they were able in the end to start to read Young India. And after 1 year of learning intensely English out of dictionaries, they were able to reach out to Gandhi in another way, and this way was writing letters. So by August 1925, they started writing letters to Gandhi, and the first letters were very well received in the ashram, and Devdas Gandhi's youngest son, he was the one who first responded to them. So the first letters from India ever reached by them in Graz were from Devdas, who was very kindly answering, replying, and said, "My father is going to write to you when he has time." And he also managed their subscription for Young India. So they got deeper involved, and the first letter which reached them in Graz by Gandhi himself is this letter. It was from February 12, 1926, because the one from the fall 1925 was lost in mail. But you can see here very formally MK Gandhi, very friendly, very polite, a relationship to be developed. And it developed very much so because Gandhi was so excited and liked the correspondence with the Standards so well and so deeply that he trusted them and started sending people to the Standards to Graz for medical advice at the beginning and for networking. So here we see in these things, this is an introduction letter for one of his friends from Ahmedabad, and these are the reactions of these friends, because the friends, they went there, they had a good time, they had a medical advice, they became friendly with the Standards, and here is a report. Mrs. Standard, Franziska, wrote to Gandhi what happened to this, what did they do together, what could they do for these people. But these people also started and kept on writing to the Standards in Austria. So here we see very beautiful family photos. One of the Stacker was sending to them. This is another very nice photo postcards from the year 1930s, and they are these precious Gandhi photos they were sending, and this was the treasure for them, because at that time there were hardly any picture postcards from Gandhi, there was hardly any pictures in the newspapers, so a photography by Gandhi was a very, very big treasure for the Standards. So the relationship deepened, the bonds deepened, and more people came to Graz. So one other one was Rajendra Prasad, the future and first president of India. And unluckily, there was a very unfortunate incident happening when Rajendra Prasad was visiting Graz, because he was on a political mission. He had visited the War Resistance Conference in Austria and came to Graz to attend the International Women's League for Peace and Freedom. And there he was mistakenly taken as one of the main speakers and was beaten up by right-wing people at that time who were opposing peace initiatives. So unluckily, he was quite hurt at that time, and also the Standards were hurt. It was this newspaper articles in an Austrian newspaper, and this is an article which Gandhi published in Young India, and this is half or more than half is the reports of the Standards, what happened in Graz, and it's titled "Europe Goers Beware." So be careful when you go there. Their right-wing people are hitting back on peace lovers. Rajendra Prasad, here is a very nice picture of him in his early days when he visited Graz, and he kept on corresponding with the Standenarts after the incident. He left the days after because Dr. Standenart treated him so well that he could leave, and he pursued his journey, and he became a lifelong friend for the Standenarts. Another very famous visitor of the Standenarts was Vellore Sundaram. He became very famous for his initiative to mediate between Gandhi and Einstein, and he was the one who brought the Einstein letter to Gandhi. This is a picture of portrait of him with Gandhi and Maniben Badel in the times when he visited the Standenarts. This was a later letter. He was called Gandhi's ambassador to Europe because he tried to establish high-profile political relations before the second Roundtable Conference in London. He was touring around Europe, and he was staying in this 7 months journey. He was staying for 1 week in Graz with the Standenarts, and here around you see the introduction letter and some of the postcards he wrote to the Standenarts. Here we can make out that he stayed a week in Graz with them, and another document also shows us that he was so kind to promote Franziska Standenart's later book, which at that time was already there, with political dignitaries like the Czech president. So all these initiatives, having guests from India, bringing gifts, getting gifts from India, intensifying the correspondence, reading Young India, intensified the bond between Gandhi and the Standenarts, and it resulted actually in reaching out of Gandhi to the Standenarts by inviting them. So by 1927 he invited them to come and to see for themselves how India is, how the ashram is, how the ashram lives would be, but actually the Standenarts were not able to afford it financially. And very honestly they replied to him, we are very glad and thank you for your invitation, but we most likely will not make it financially. So Gandhi reached out to them a second time and said, would you be able to come? If I could, I would find a sponsor for you. And they agreed happily, and Gandhi found a sponsor in J.D. Birla, who paid for their passage. So this section is dedicated to the correspondence, what happened, how the money was transferred, and the preparations for the journey, because they could just travel in the main holiday seasons, which was unfortunately still a very hot season in India, because Dr. Standenart was teaching at the university and he was an assistant professor at that time already, so he had a huge obligation, and his main professor was sick, so he wouldn't be able to leave the university because he was the only one teaching there in his specific subject. So it was a little tricky, but they decided they are going to leave on the 31st of August 1928 from Trieste, and we see here, this section is devoted to the journey, and we see here a map. So they were leaving Graz by train to Trieste and came down the Mediterranean Sea, but were passing the Suez Channel and came via Mumbai, where the ship docked, and then they went by train again to Sabarmati Ashram. This is devoted to the journey, so we see the ship they were on and some impressions they took themselves. So they were very impressed with the Suez Channel. It was the first time they were traveling that far, so they made quite a lot of pictures of the Suez Channel, of the situation there, and the people inhabiting this area. So after a brief stay, very brief, I think they even didn't stay overnight in Bombay at that time, they proceeded their journey to Sabarmati, and finally they had reached geographically, but they had also reached emotionally and socially. So their stay in the ashram was a life-changing moment for them. So we have here some ashramites, Mahadav Dev, the secretary, Biralal, the later secretary, Kasturba Gandhi, the wife of Gandhiji, and Durga Ben were there among many others. So they became very friendly with all these people. They became close friends. They had everyday interactions. They contributed to the schedule of the ashram. They were cooking with them, they were doing seva work, they were cleaning, they were praying with them. And here is in this section we have collected letters of Gandhi describing the stay of the Standanaths in India, and I would like to read out one because it's very touching, and I think it summarizes a lot what the Standanaths meant for Gandhi and vice versa. He writes to Pollack on the 12th October 1928, Mahatmaji. At present, an Austrian couple are staying here. They are extremely good people. The husband is a professor in a medical college in Graz, and the wife is a fine singer and a finer philosopher. From the commencement of their marriage, they had led the life of brahmacharya. The merit is all the wife's. She says she never had any sexual desire. They are a wonderful couple in more ways than one. And I think this wonderful couple was the reason that Gandhi named them Savitri and Satyavan, which is, everybody who knows Indian mythology knows Savitri is the name for a very devoted, pure relationship between a woman and her husband. And I think she proved Gandhi also on her stay there. And also, she proved in another way, because Satyavan, her husband now, who became from Fred Standanath Satyavan, and she became from Franziska Standanath, she became Savitri. Unfortunately, during the time of the stay, there was a severe malaria epidemic in the ashram, and Fred Standanath fell quite badly sick. So he got a lot of attention of his wife, but he also got a lot of attention of Gandhi, who visited him every evening, sometimes even in the morning, and treated him with natural remedies. So this time in the ashram, they also, luckily for us researchers, they luckily had a camera with them. Despite their lack of finances, they did all these pictures which you can see here. So this is a very unique source of very early pictures and photographs of the ashram itself. They are not very clear. The Standanaths were not good photographers, and they were hesitating, she writes also, hesitating to get a clear glimpse of Gandhi, but like this one, Gandhi in the ashram, sitting down, very not very a clear picture, or this one, Gandhi at the spinning wheel, or this one is one of my favorites, Gandhi cutting vegetable with another female ashramite. But they also documented Gandhi and the ashram, they documented themselves, like here this is Savitri with the granddaughter of the Mahatma and the boy in front of Mangalal Gandhi's residence 23, and they documented also the buildings, like this was the elementary school in the ashram, this is another building in the ashram, this is the aerial view of the Sabarmati ashram 1928, and these pictures are one of the very, very, very first photographs of the ashram globally. So because at that time hardly anybody took or had the opportunity to have an individual camera. But also we can see this is a Sabarmati, a bad picture of a Sabarmati river, but you can get a glimpse of the situation and the location. Here we are, and they also documented the Vidyapith. Vidyapith was called Gandhi's University. It was founded in the year 1920. It was to promote educational an education on a higher level without using British educational institutions. So officially, the Standanaths had perceived and her scholarship by Vidyapith, so to study Gandhian philosophy. So they've spent quite some time there. They went over and over again, and one of these visits they created this picture. And here you see it, not a good one, but we can see here Savitri, very simple khadi cloth wearing in the hallway of Vidyapith in Ahmedabad, 1929. Besides all these activities in the ashram, and what I have to mention, she was a very good singer and she was a very good musician. So at the evening's prayers, she used to sing and to perform, which also Gandhi mentioned in several letters to other peoples, and he liked it very much. But they went out of the ashram and they did some sightseeing tours. They were taken by some friends of Gandhi who had a car, so they took them around Ahmedabad. They stayed for 1 or 2 nights with these friends, and these kind of pictures were generated during these tours. There are more, but this is just a small example of what they saw at the time there. And these pictures also were shown when Franziska, when she returned to Austria, when she started giving picture talks and slide talks in Graz. So they had a very, very intense time. I think they enjoyed it to the latest in being in the ashram, being with Gandhi, being immersed in all the life they always wanted to live, but they had to leave because of financial reasons. He had to go back to his university obligations, and she, as a devoted wife, as Savitri is meant to be, they had to leave, and she had to follow him. So they would have loved to settle in the ashram, and there were some shortfalls which we get out of the letters, but they continued their journey back to Austria, and it was the 19th of November 1928. So they stayed there for exactly 2 months. They arrived on the 18th of September till the 19th of November 1928, and Monday, as many Gandhi scholars know, was the day of silence. So Gandhi was not able to talk to them when he accompanied them to the railway station, but he gave her a handwritten farewell note, and she noted it down: "Don't weep, keep well, come when you like." This, I think, shows a lot what emotions were in the space at that time. He immediately, so leaving them at the railway station, he immediately made a postcard here. This is the postcard which reached them when they reached Bombay, and it's very important, this postcard, because he first and secondly, he addressed her with Savitri. So this is a historically very important postcard because it shows the deepening of the relation. It shows the change of relation to a real Gandhian disciple, and having also developed this father-disciple relationship. These sources show us another letter, Gandhi comforting the Standenath to keep on with their mission, and the other 4 show us, luckily, as a historian we can say, Fred Standenath, Satyavan, he was invited at the last prayer meeting of their stay on the 18th of November 1928 to give a talk. And a friend and one of the ashramites had asked him, please write it down for us, which he did, and fortunately we found this source in the National Gandhi Museum here in Delhi, so we know what Fred Standenath was. So what did they take, besides being now real ashramites, really Gandhian followers, having spent 2 months with him day and night? So it was these unforgettable memories, but they also took souvenirs back. And very simple things became very precious, like a bundle of threads spun in the ashram became an important source, and it's still there, it's still kept as an important treasure. They took several postcards of Gandhi with them because there were hardly any pictures. They got stickers from the Ahmedabad mills, they took as souvenirs from the people who hosted their stay in Ahmedabad, and the most precious gift was Gandhi's wooden slippers, which he gifted to Savitri. Fred came back and he continued his medical career as good as he could, being with all his doubts about Western science, but Franziska completely changed. She dropped her studies at the university and she wanted to devote her time to disseminate Gandhi's thoughts and Gandhi's philosophy. Gandhi writes to her, "I want you, however, to compose yourself and go on steadily with your mission." And her mission was this living a Gandhian lifestyle in Austria and getting Gandhi to know more in the German-speaking world. So she started writing articles. This was the first article. It's called Indien wie ich es sah, so it's like India as I saw it. In February 29, she started to give slideshows on India, on her stay in India, but it became more than a report of her stay. It became a talk on India, and it became a talk on the Indian struggle for independence. And every time this talk she gave was finished, was ended with the flag of the Indian National Congress, a political statement for the liberation struggle and for the freedom struggle for India, which Gandhi stood for. And she influenced also other people, like this is a picture of a Gandhi statue by a Graz sculptor who never saw Gandhi in his life, but Franziska had done some pictures of Gandhi, and she had shown these pictures to this artist, and he took up and Gandhi and made a beautiful Gandhi sculpture, which is unfortunately lost. And Franziska continued her work, and she also started to translate Gandhi's work. Gandhi had explicitly, he allowed her to translate everything he is writing in a letter, and Franziska started to do this, and on the other way, she started to write about it. And one international moment which made Gandhi globally very, very famous, as you know, was the Gandhi March between March and April 1930, when he went to the sea and touched and took up the sword and violated the British law at that. So this is a beautiful painting. This is a poster which was in her estate. And these are articles she wrote in Austrian newspapers about the Salt March. It's called Unarmed Against the World Empire from June 1930, and this is the march of the 78 elected from April 1930 in a local Austrian newspaper. And as you know, Gandhi was imprisoned after the Salt March. And he kept on his correspondence with the Staatsrat and with Savitri, also from the jail. And this shows these two objects here. So Gandhi had sent her Savitri on a mission, and she took it up very lightly and easily and full of pleasure and full of encouragement and energies. So in the end, by the year 1931, she completed a book about 450 pages, and this was mainly it was about the time of the Salt March. It's called India's Struggle for Freedom, 1930-1931. So she was covering this time of the Salt March, plus the imprisonment and what happened afterwards. Then she also, very importantly, she translated the letters from the prison of the Mahatma, the first time in a compiled way, and she edited her personal impressions of the 4 months being guest of Mahatma Gandhi. The book was also completed with pictures. This is one of them showing her. It's another picture of her and the statue. And the book also had a lot. So 2/3 of the book are translations by Gandhi of very important articles or by Gandhian disciples. Like some of these articles are by Miraben, some of them are by Professor Kumar Barappa, who was a Gandhian economist, and he had developed this very special this very special theory of Gandhian developing economies. So it was a kind of, the book opened up the entire German-speaking audience, or a German-speaking audience for Franziska's work, and it was quite well perceived. Unluckily, or unfortunately for her, it was set in a time when peace thoughts in Europe were not perceived very well, because there was a very negative and very aggressive movement arising at the same time. So it wasn't, she was not, the timing was not bad, not the best one, I would say, but I think she did what she could, and she did very well by opening up this Gandhian thoughts to a big German audience. Another very important step in her life was a very unlucky one, and this happened in the year 1935, and it is the death of her husband. Here we can see instructions for his funerals on the letterhead of the Sabarmati ashram, telling them what to do for the funeral. So you can see she also brought Sabarmati letterheads to Austria. We can see why did he die? He was a medical doctor, but the problem was at that time there was no coal actually to heat the laboratories at the university. So he was working the whole winter there and had suffered from pneumonia for a long time, and she was caring for him, but for the whole spring and summer. But by the end of the summer, in August 1935, he unfortunately died. This is a picture of his grave. This is a picture of an obituary which was published in a medical newspaper, and the other four are comforting letters by Gandhi, trying to comfort her, trying to give her a perspective, and actually also inviting her to come back to India to stay. But she had promised to finish the publications of her husband, and she kept the promise, so she stayed back and did not move to India at that time. So the communication, the correspondence continued, but then World War II happened, another very unfortunate moment for the global people, but also for Franziska, because Franziska and Savitri and Gandhi were on opposite sides of the war. So for more than 10 years, the correspondence was not able. She could not to reach out to her friends in India. She could not reach out to Gandhi. She could not read Young India. She could not read Harijan. So she was somehow isolated in her thoughts and in her doing. So I think it must have been very, very difficult for her, and also as an impoverished widow. So she keeps complaining about the very, very little money she had to live on during the whole war, and being also in a very fascistic and violent settlement and society and regime at that time. But she survived, and I'm sure most likely because she had this very deep thought of non-violence. So after 10 years, the world opens up again, and it's possible to write globally again. And in 1947, she's reaching out to Gandhi the first time, and Gandhi is answering her letters with joy and happiness. And it's even such a big thing in Graz that even the newspapers, they report of Gandhi being writing to Franziska at the time. For her, it is I think a big joy that he's continuing this correspondence after 10 years, and there are 5 letters from the year 1947, because as you all know, in the January of 1948, another disaster happened, and this is the assassination of Gandhi. In January, we see here an article by Franziska Standernach in an Austrian newspaper on the assassination. She's writing condolence letters to Gandhi's families, and this is a beautiful photo of Gandhi and his grandchildren Gopal Krishna Gandhi, Rajmohan Gandhi, Ramchandra Gandhi, and Tara Gandhi. It's a printed thank you note from Devdas family for all the people who wrote condolence letters. And they sent also these memories of Gandhi, of Babuji to him. So she is writing condolence letters, but at the same time she's receiving condolence letters because her modest apartment in Austria becomes a kind of center of Gandhian thoughts, of Gandhian followers. And like this one, this is just a small example for a poem of an Austrian supporter of Gandhi, which she writes in memoriam of Gandhi. Very, very touching one, I have to admit. So Gandhi has been assassinated in 1948, but this does not mean that Franziska is giving up on Gandhian thoughts or stopping her dissemination and her publications on Gandhi. She continues, and actually she's doing even more, giving more efforts in it. So what happened till the end of her life, Franziska Phrantgenath, or Asa Savitri, Aka Savitri, she publishes on Gandhi, she speaks on Gandhi, she gives radio shows on Gandhi, and the biggest treasure she has were the letters. So, and what she does in the age of 87, she's trying to publish a new book on Gandhi and his letters to her, which is the biggest treasure. So she is following this Gandhian way till the end of her life, and she dies in 1971 in the age of 88, and unfortunately she has the contacts. We have the drafts for the treaties for the agreement with the publishing house, but she dies before she signs. So this book has never been published, but it's a beautiful historical source because she has put all the letters Gandhi has written to her together, and she translated it to German. She also keeps all the acknowledgements of receipts of the letters she's sending to Gandhi. And I think when I look back to her life, there's a letter in 1937, Gandhi is writing, "You are helpful in promoting a clear understanding of the movement for which I stand. Therefore, there is no doubt you are in your proper place there." And I think this is actually the legacy of Savitri, that Gandhi sent her there to disseminate his writings and his thoughts and his philosophy. She is she's the first one actually in the German-speaking world as a female to write a book on Gandhi in the year 1931. And she is in a group of 6 people worldwide who used these years, 1930, 1931, the year of the times of the Salt March, to publish on Gandhi. And here we try to honor these women. The first one was Esther Menon and Ellen Horrop from Denmark. Then it was Millie Graham Pollack, Muriel Lester, the host of Gandhi in London, and Frida Hauswirth. They all published between 1931 and 1930, and in 1931, Franziska was the first one for the German-speaking world. We concluded this exhibition actually with a contemporary approach of an Austrian painter, which should show the respective and the mutual respect of Gandhi and Franziska, displaying their devotion for each other and their loving respect and their time together, their common aim they had for the world, which was a social world, which was a world of non-violence, which was a world of economic non-violence and of social peace and harmony.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a wonderful exhibition. We did it with a collaboration of all the archival materials from the archives in Austria and archives in our National Gandhi Museum. and first time we collaborated with the archival materials of other international agency, and we brought back to our and also it opened up other avenues for us to exchange our digital images to our fellow archival institutions. So for this wonderful exhibition, we have to thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for a lovely cooperation, for a great team. Thank you so much to the National Gandhi Museum here in Delhi. And the story will just be able to write, to merge Austrian and Indian sources.
Yes.
Franziska Standenhardt came alive here with the Indian sources.